Hi, big fam. How are we? Hope everyone is okay. I've not done a video for a couple of days because I told you my brother's wife's dad was been diagnosed with terminal cancer and been gone to a hospice, and he died day before yesterday. So yeah, just kind of taking that in, and it really made me think about everyone who also would have maybe not had their treatment or diagnosis as a result of what's gone on. So my thoughts go out to everyone else that's got cancer and also struggling. So yeah, it's a lot, isn't it? And both actually Lynn's husband Brian, who just passed away, and my uncle late last year, they were in relationships where they'd been with that person their whole lives, since they were their first love. Like, so they've been with them their entire lives, and neither of them have ever really spent any time apart. Particularly my uncle and auntie, they didn't have children, so they were just always together, literally. So it's, the loss. No, she's not very. I know my auntie's not doing very well with that, as anyone would when they lose someone. I'm still grieving my dad, and he died almost 7 years ago. So, you know what I mean. So it's traumatic. It's traumatic for everyone involved. But it just is. But I just want to send out lots of love to everyone. And I watched something. I watched something yesterday, and it just really annoyed me. And I just thought, I don't want to do a video when I'm in this kind of place, because I just won't. It won't be. It won't be. It won't be constructive. It'll just be destructive, if you know what I mean. So I've got loads of stuff. And the video that I saw a clip of, I just stopped watching it because it was annoying me, was a program called The View in America. It was 5 ladies on this sort of Zoom chat, right, talking about And one of them was Whoopi Goldberg, and I love Whoopi Goldberg. However, I didn't enjoy this conversation one bit. And it was basically, It was basically calling people who don't want a vaccine stupid and selfish. And I just, I don't even know where to begin with that, but disagree, obviously. And I'm going to give you the information on why. Now, I'm not I wouldn't say I am anti these vaccines, and I'll give you the reasons why. I'm not anti-vaccines, vaccines as a whole. But I'm just anti getting these vaccines on a personal level. But I've done the research to be able to justify why I don't want to take it. And I think I live with somebody who's 74, who would be in the sort of real vulnerable range. She's got 1,000,001 things, health issues, in a wheelchair or a catheter. She takes about, 50 tablets a day. So, I'm far from being stupid, you know what I'm saying? And I just don't like the association with people that's saying that people who are against taking this vaccine are stupid. That's a sweeping statement, and it is almost entirely wrong, because most people that haven't taken it are ones that have done research, and that's why. And there's a few things. So, and this is a divisive topic, obviously, but I've kind of gone, and I've shared a lot of this before, and it's, I don't know, I don't understand why people are so easily led and just lapping up what they want us to think. Because when you think about how these are portrayed, it's only ever the positive that is in the mainstream media. It's never really the full extent of the cons, if you know what I'm saying. It's all pros, but there's never real a fair balance or comparison of any of the cons. So where do I start with this? I basically, and this is ages ago, this is months and months ago, and I've shared links to this data before, but I'm going to do it again. So obviously, firstly, why are they? There is no data, right? There's no real data. There is no data on the long-term side effects of these, for one. The short-term side effects, again, aren't being portrayed to their full extent. They've maybe listed one or two in mainstream media, blood clots. Oh, there's only 19 of those. That's not the full extent of the blood clots either across the world. But there's on the AstraZeneca jab, there's a 79-page document, 79 pages of side effects, severe side effects, and even that can even cause death. Right, so there's that. That's a freely available, accessible document that's on the government website, and I'll share that again. So those are so that's the cons. So that's some of the cons there. Also, they're talking about it's 99% efficacy, but it's 99% efficacy against which variant one, which and only for 6 months, a period of 6 months. Let's not forget, they're saying it's only actually has that level of efficacy for 6 months, and then it doesn't work anyway, and you'd have to have another jab or several or annually. And again, it's only against that initial one, not all of these other variants that have come about afterwards. I was watching, I'm going to put in links to all of these. So I've seen a couple of scientists talking about the comparison with the 1918 Spanish flu. And the Spanish flu had no human intervention because there was no vaccines then. And as a result, it didn't have all these mutations, more dangerous mutations. Because what they're saying, and this is lots of doctors, what they're saying is actually mass vaccination is having a dangerous effect on the way that the virus is mutating at an escalated rate, and those mutations are more infectious. And by mass vaccinating against that initial one, we're kind of forcing the virus to mutate. Whereas if it wasn't, and it was just left herd immunity, because 97% of us recover, let's not forget, we'd have the natural immunity and it wouldn't have mutated. Potentially, that's the hypothesis, that's the theory. And that's based on looking at viruses through history. So there's that. Then you've also got to think about, and you've got to factor this in, where did the virus come from? And no, the answer is not China. It came from a lab. Well, again, allegedly, whatever you want to say, it definitely came from there. And I'm going to tell you why. So, and again, just because it's in China, it doesn't mean it's anything to do with Chinese people. It's a lab in China that is funded by the West. Let's just get that right. Then I found this here. This is from The Scientist in 2015. Lab-made coronavirus triggers debate. The creation of a chimeric SARS-like virus has scientists discussing the risks of gain-of-function research. If you don't know what gain-of-function research is, let me enlighten you. So, hold on. Sorry, just give me a sec. Gain-of-function. Right. So gain-of-function research is basically, let me just bring this up here. Gain-of-function research is a field of medical research focused on the serial passaging of microorganisms in vitro and in vivo. This places positive selective pressure on the microorganisms to affect mutations that would increase their pathogenicity, transmissibility, and antigenicity. Basically, it's messing around with nature to make it into something that's more dangerous. So they were doing this with a SARS coronavirus in 2015. There's an article about it in The Scientist, on thescientist.com. So there's proof that they did it. Ralph Barrick, an infectious disease researcher at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, last week, November 9th, published a study on his team's efforts to engineer a virus with the surface protein of SHSC0114 coronavirus found in horseshoe bats in China. and the backbone of one of that that causes human-like severe acute respiratory syndrome, SARS, in mice. The hybrid virus could infect human airway cells and cause disease in mice, according to the team's results, which they actually published in another magazine called Nature's Medicine. The results demonstrate the ability of the surface protein to bind and infect human cells, validating concerns that this virus, of all the coronaviruses found in bat species, may be capable of making the leap. Well, obviously it is, because they're doing this gain of function research on it. They're making it so. They also reignite a debate as to whether the information justifies the risk of such work, known as gain of function research. If the new virus escaped, nobody could predict the trajectory, says Simon Wayne Hobson, a virologist at the Pasteur Institute in Paris. In October 2013, the US government put a stop to federal funding. So listen to these words. Pre-2013, they were funding gain of function research on viruses. Let's just, right. So in 2013, supposedly, they put a stop to all federal funding for gain of function studies, with particular concern rising about influenza, SARS, and Middle East respiratory syndrome. The National Institute of Health has funded such studies. Right, and this is important. Why? Because right now, and I'm going to put links to this, there are select committee and Senate hearings going on where people are barefaced lying about this exact thing. So they're debating, why aren't the Democrats insisting on more research into where it's come from, because the WHO report is not satisfactory in any way, shape, or form, because it really doesn't say jack, which isn't surprising because they're funded by the big pharma. So we're 15 months down the line, and nobody is showing any real impetus or concern to nail down the origin of the virus. Why? Surely the world deserves and needs and wants to know the origin of it. Or is it because they know where it's going? This. So, and you've also got Dr. Fauci barefaced lying about the National Institute of Health as well, just FYI. So they funded these studies to help define the fundamental nature of human pathogen interactions, enabling the assessment of pandemic potential of emerging infectious agents, and to inform public health and preparedness efforts. So what they're trying to say here is they're justifying baffing with nature to make a to make the virus have increased pathogenicity, transmissibility, and antigenicity, i.e. more dangerous, as a means to study what would happen in a pandemic by creating the virus that would cause the pandemic. Okay, right. So this is 2030. These are way back when. Right. The National Institute of Health Director Francis Collins said in a statement at the time, these studies, however, also entail biosafety and biosecurity risks, which need to be understood better. What biosafety risks? What biosecurity? Like, what? I mean, do they have any? If that link there, have you seen these labs? Have you seen these? Why do we have these viral labs faffing around with viruses to make them more dangerous in the first place? Why do we have them? It just sounds like the most craziest thing. because they're creating the viruses, that they're creating these dangerous viruses, and they're doing it saying that they're doing it to study it, but just the creation of it is dangerous, in my opinion. Ethical, there's problems there. And when you think about, when you see these labs in programs and documentaries, there is no way, particularly that one there, because that's like the highest level, that Wuhan one. There's different levels of these labs, and that's like they're dealing with the most dangerous viruses. There is no way that it can just leak out. Have you seen what they got to get up? They got to wear. They got to go through like various tunnels of spray and, you know, different doors opening and shutting to let them through, and they got to get onto an oxygen bloody zip it tank thing. Like you can't just leak one of these seriously deadly viruses unless it is intentional. There's no way. There's no way. No way whatsoever. So there's that. And it is important, the thing is as well, and what I don't understand, why people don't want to know. Like, I'm talking about masses. And I know it's easier to bury our heads in the sand, and I know it's easier because we just want to get on with life, and you know, this time has been difficult, and it's, you know, the isolation and, you know, all of these things. But it still should not be enough to push you into doing something that you're not fully what would be the right word? You know, it feels like they're trying to pressure everyone, get everyone. It's like a steam pressure cooker. And they're trying to get everyone to that point where they're just going to cave and have it just to shut them up. And that's real dangerous. And okay, let me go on to that before. Yeah, it's really dangerous. Because everyone's, you know, when you're having a year of fear of death and anxiety and stress and mental health issues and depression and addictions have gone up and alcohol consumption has gone up and all of these things, no one, you know, you're more susceptible to being manipulated and controlled and lied and just because that's how they do it. Because people are getting just desperate to get out and willing to put their own health, because in my opinion, having a vaccine is actually a health risk. And I'll explain why. And it's different, you know, that's just a personal opinion, but when you think about these companies, yeah, don't forget, these pharmaceutical companies are proven liars. Proven liars. As are the regulatory boards. Yeah, think about the amount. I'm going to put in some links to the amount of lawsuits that have been historically filed against these vaccine manufacturers, because all of them have got lawsuits filed against them that they have had to settle for drugs that they have created, products that they have created that they have said are safe, that regulatory boards have also approved, said are safe, so they're on sale. They've been on sale for decades, and then they have then been proven, long-term side effects, proven to be disastrous for health, and proven to cause a severe, long list of severe issues. You know, the short-term gain of maybe being protected against the first, coronavirus 1.0, pre all of the variants, maybe being vaccinated against that one for maybe 6 months, not really sure if we can transmit it or not. And also, is it even effective? Because actually there's loads of research coming out saying that people are getting COVID after they've had all of their vaccinations, the one that's, however many jabs it is. There's a video on there's a country that is the highest vaccination per capita, and they've got a surge of COVID cases. So it don't even work. So why are people taking that health risk? But that's how I see it. You don't know what it's going to do to you. Don't know what it's going to do to your body long term, and it doesn't. If it's not even protecting you against the fucking coronavirus in the first place, why take it? It's a completely new technology, and there's also evidence again that I'm going to put in that the mRNA ones. So they are the ones that they tell your cells to produce this spike protein, right? So if you're healthy, so there's research on this that's come out. So if you're completely healthy and you're having that injection, that is telling your cells to produce the spike protein of a coronavirus, right? And then your natural immunity, your T cells, are going to go, oh, it's coronavirus, but you haven't got coronavirus. Yeah, your cells just create the spike protein, and it's telling. So it can almost have the opposite, because it's telling your body is then thinking that you have it, and it's trying to break down cells that actually don't have coronavirus. They just have the spike, but that they think that it has. So it's actually it can have damage to normal healthy cells, and that thing won't stop. Once it's in you, it is telling your body to create spike proteins all day, all night. And if you're healthy, and your T cells then are looking at your cells going, they're coronavirus cells, and they're not, they're healthy, and then it's trying to kill them. Again, I'm not a biologist, I'm not a virologist, I'm not a scientist, but I'm going to show you links with people that are saying that that's what it's doing, based on research that has gone on. So I'm going to put that in. So there's another reason. Another reason is there is the number one female gynecologist medicine type lady in the world. She has done a report on how it's because there's a lot of people reporting serious impact on their menstrual cycle. Now, your menstrual cycle as a woman is your body's way of telling you almost how healthy you are or where you are, and it's just one of the ways you can tell, because if there's any change in your menstrual cycle, it generally means that there is something wrong. Otherwise you work on a 28th whatever day cycle it is. naturally. And again, I know this is going to be a bit grim if there's boys out there, but this is just biology. Like, if there's any changes in what it looks like, what it smells like, how long it goes on for, all of those are warning signs that there is something not right with your body. If it normally lasts whatever 4 days, every 28 days, and it always is the same look or whatever, and you've had a vaccine and that has changed in any way, then you should go and see a doctor, because that is your body's way of telling you that there's something not right inside. And this woman, who's this like she's world renowned female, doctor that specializes in feminine biology, or gynecology, particularly menstruation. But she's getting loads of reports from all over the world from women that have had the vaccine, and they're seeing dramatic changes in their menstrual health, if you want to call it that. And obviously that is going to reflect your uterus, your womb, your ovulation. So I'm going to put a link into her, because I think the thing is, this is why this is a touchy, because it has gone on so long, because people are desperate, and because it's affected everything everywhere, and because they've done a really good job of scaring the shit out of people. But it's really important to remember that prevention is better than a cure, and that we are in control of our health, and everything that we consume affects that, whether that's mentally even, or who we're around, the products that are in our houses. A lot of the, I did whole thing on that about, everything in most traditional paints, glues, stuff like that, they're toxic for our health. What does that cause? It causes inflammation. Inflammation, increases means we're more susceptible to disease. So you've got to factor in that. Then you've got to factor in anything that we consume in terms of food, anything with additives, all of that. Again, inflammation. Inflammation causes, makes you more susceptible to disease. One of the primary reasons, I watched a program just yesterday. It was saying that there's a correlation between obesity and COVID deaths. So, and there's also a correlation between existing illnesses. So people, a large number of the people that have sadly passed away from coronavirus also had pre-existing conditions of varying severity. And I don't know. We just have to be more conscious of everything that if we want to be healthy, it's this kind of, this, how we've become in terms of, we want a quick fix all the time. We want a quick fix for everything, quick fix. And we're not prepared to put the work in to fix the fundamental problem, if that makes sense. And it's concerning, because this guy was on the TV and he was saying that he had it. He was 27 stone and he got coronavirus. Obviously went into He had it really badly. He thought he was going to die, and it was very close. And they said to him, "You've got to lose weight." Because the being overweight had a massive impact, from the actual food he's consuming, actually the weight on his lungs, on his heart, on his mobility, on his ability to recover. All of those things at the same time had a massive impact on him, on the severity of his coronavirus and ability to recover. But he has recovered, and he's lost, I think it was 7 stone in the matter of months, because obviously it shook him to his core, and realised that he had to change. And maybe that's what we all need to do. And it's not about not having fun, it's not about, but it's just about being aware. It's just about knowing these things, and knowing how they're all connected to each other, and the impact of constantly doing these things and not really thinking about the consequences on our own health, and also the health of everyone, our kids. Yeah. So, and also this, fear as well. Look, listen to this. So I'm going to put all of these links in. This fear itself and stress and anxiety affects your immune system. So yeah, it says here, the impact of fear and anxiety. Fear is a human emotion that is triggered by a perceived threat. It's a basic survival mechanism that signals our bodies to respond to a danger, fight or flight response. However, when people live in constant fear, whether from physical dangers in their environment or threats they perceive, they can experience negative impacts in all areas of their lives and become incapacitated. How fear works. Fear prepares us to react to danger. Once we sense potential danger, our body releases hormones that slow or shut down functions that are not needed and sharpens other functions. So it has such as your heart rate and blood flow. It also increases flows of hormones to your brain and the amygdala, which then focuses even more on the danger and stores it in your memory. So imagine, because obviously people deal with things differently, but this is most certainly going to be affecting our parents, grandparents, particularly if they're isolated, vulnerable, or shielding more than others, or anyone with a existing mental health issue. Think about it. Think about what this would have done to just so many, everyone everywhere. But that there, and they media constant 24/7. Death. That shit there. I mean, I know, but the actual impact of that repetition, day in, day out, for this amount of time, is going to have done damage on a scale that I don't think we really fully understand. And I was just seeing on the news, I've mentioned it before, but people were too scared to go out. It's not air, it's not in the air. Like, it's not, or even be near people. Like, they're looking at people like they're the virus. It's so wrong what has been done here. And you know what? I found the UK government. It's been archived, but I found it. UK government let me find it. Preparedness. Because strangely enough, all our governments have done an exercise in pandemic preparedness, specifically with relation to an influenza type virus. They've all done it. And how do I know that? Because I searched it. So this was done in this one here. So this is the UK Influenza Pandemic Preparedness Strategy 2011. Now this is also part of, there's an international framework for this when you're like, why would you, it's so accurate. I honestly, it's a long document, but if you want to open your eyes, read this fucking thing here, because it is so detailed. It's scary. And you think then, well, there's several thick questions that come from it, which is, because some of the numbers even that they reference are numbers that are accurate for what's live now. So what instigated everyone everywhere doing a pandemic preparedness specifically with an influenza type virus? Seems uncanny. Also, this was done in 2011, so 10 years ago, almost to the date. And so they've had 10 years. And this document is so detailed. It's so detailed. And it talks about every little thing. I'll read you the contents. So, purpose of the document, changes to previous approach, because they've also done previous pandemic planning for an influenza type virus circa the early 2000s, right? So the challenge of a pandemic influenza, right? So that's then you've got the uncertainty of pandemic influenza, uncertainty about when an influenza pandemic could occur, unpredictability about how severe a future influenza pandemic could be, the speed with which a pandemic can develop, the potential impact of an influenza pandemic, potential economic impact of an influenza pandemic, lessons from the bird flu, which was in 2009. Planning assumptions for a future influenza pandemic, research and development. The next section, strategic approach to pandemic preparedness, strategic objectives. Precautionary, responding in relation to the risk, proportionality, planning for the uncertainty, flexibility, managing the phases of a pandemic response. Proposed new UK approach to phases of pandemic response. then evidence-based, ethical principles for pandemic preparedness, building on established systems and business continuity, whole of society preparedness, local and national coordination, international coordination and assistance. Next, key elements of pandemic response. Detection and evaluation, reductions in the spread of disease, infection control, respiratory and hand hygiene, face masks and this is important. Face masks and respirators, international travel, border restrictions and screening, right? Restrictions on public gatherings and public transport, school closures, minimizing serious illness and deaths, antiviral medicines, antibiotics, protecting people through vaccination. So they see how they put the other two first, but they ain't even been they're not being used. Communication and public engagement, enabling people to share responsibility for preparedness and response. Communications for the public, communications of statistical data in influenza pandemic, communications for health and other professionals, suggested key messages for the public. The health and social care response, initial response, detect and evaluate phases, treatment phase, national pandemic flu service, secondary care, escalation, vaccination recovery phase. Then 7, whole of society response, business as usual, maintaining essential services and normal life, the role of the military, health and safety, maintaining public order, the role of the media, managing deaths, taking legislative action. Right. Now, I've skim read this because, as I say, it's long. It's about, but I say it's long. It's like 80 pages, but it's dense, right? Now, when they have planned something to such minute detail, it begs the question, and they've had 10 years since they wrote this, and in it says that they are going to be stockpiling. In black and white, it says that they're going to be stockpiling all of these things needed in this document to be prepared for a pandemic of an influenza style virus, right? So it says that, but they haven't done it, or you know what I mean? Because the shit show that we've watched for the last 16 months doesn't look like they were somebody that had one of these documents, does it? And not only that, one of these documents with minute detail on the preparedness of this, from every possible fucking angle, on what to do, and 10 years of supposed planning and preparation and stockpiling of all of the things needed for a potential fucking pandemic. And then you get to March last year and you've got people fucking not having a clue what the fuck they're doing. Even worse, that all they'd have to do is bring up the document and follow it. Like, what, that's all. That even worst case scenario, that's what they could have done if they weren't prepared. Like, they should have been from the preparedness document. But all they need to do is search it, bring it up, and literally follow it. Well, point by point, they could have done that. And clearly didn't. What is the fucking point? How much taxpayers' money went on paying a third party to do this independent study to make sure that we are prepared should a pandemic occur, to then not be prepared at all anyway? Just makes you, and then it's also, let's not forget that the virus itself is proven to have been as a result of gain of function research and created in the States back in 2015 to 2013, same time. Like, come on, people. And these vaccines as well, they've taken away their liability, I've subsequently found. Their liability for any side effects. So you can't even sue them if anything goes wrong. But you can sue the government. The government have put their their liability. They've put it as their liability. I don't know about in other countries, but I know on the UK government it's on theirs. So, I mean, that doesn't even cover half of it. That's just what I'm going to cover right now. And I'll be back later. So I know it's difficult, but you know what? Actually, just one more thought. Do you know what thing they did not cover this preparedness? They didn't mention, not that I've seen so far, won't mention once people's mental health as a result of pandemic. There's not one mention of it. And even now, there isn't really. Not from the government, not for how traumatizing this whole experience and continues to be is on absolutely everyone everywhere, unless you're like really mentally strong, which just and that's not a dig at anyone, it's hard. But there was a report that upset, I've read, and it upset me because it made me think of obviously the boys that have had these since that dream. Whenever I keep having the same dream, but now there's more kids in it and they're screaming. Anyway, so there's a report saying that there's been a dramatic increase in mental health, obviously across the board, but with children, and they're becoming more and more reclusive, going into themselves, sitting in their rooms just playing games, not really talking to anybody, struggling with the stress of school and, time, obviously, from homeschooling is, unless you're that way inclined, isn't necessarily a natural thing for other parents to do, and particularly if they're trying to manage work and everything else. And it's also, if they're used to going to school and then doing homeschooling, it's hard to motivate yourself to do it. It takes a certain kind of routine and discipline to do that and want to do it and find it easy if you're used to a classroom environment and being around your friends all the time. And all of that has impacted on children's mental health, going right down all the way down to preschool. They're seeing the impact of it in terms of their their ability to communicate, ability to write and learn, having had such a break. So many, it's affected so many things. And that kids are finding it hard to deal with it because it's a traumatic event and it's not ended yet. So mental health and dealing, ways and means of dealing with trauma and anxiety and stress and reducing fear and depression in any way possible has got to be the absolute fucking priority. I know there's a lot of priorities because there's a lot of crazy stuff going on, but people's mental health has got to be up there. It's got to be. It's got to be. Because these kids are like starting to, self-harm and stuff like that. And obviously there isn't, think about it. When you're suffering from many of those kind of things, and then if you do get the courage to go and speak to somebody, and then you're told, well, the waiting list is, God only knows what it is now. Years, probably. Depending on what, it's like, no, you can't be doing it, can't it? It must be instant. There must be more funds. There must be more funds. Find some, put some into mental health services immediately. It's not like this can wait. This can't wait. People's lives have been affected so much already, and the sort of in long-term impact on mental health is really of everyone, not the teachers and the students, the doctors and nurses and the patients, the police, and it's everything. So I'm thinking of everybody. I'm going to put all the links into all of those bits, and some links to stuff to help with anxiety, stress, depression, fear, those kind of things. If there's anything we can do to help each other out right now, I think we should. So sending lots of love. As always, big virtual hugs. And no, shall I? Okay, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to end on a lighter note, which is Eurovision. Yeah. Listen, I have actually listened to all 39 entries, and I'm going to tell it, they are epic. And do you know what I was thinking? Because music is healing, I think. It can be anyway. And I've really listened. I just listen to music differently now than I did before. I don't know how it's changed or why, but it has. And I just really listen, I guess is the best way to describe it. Like, I don't know how I listened before, but I just really feel the words and the emotion of the person singing it, and the message in those words. And more than that, music is so powerful. Music is, for someone to be able to express their feelings in words in such a way that can make somebody else feel that feeling, that emotion. That's so powerful, just on a lyric level. It doesn't matter what genre it applies the same. But more than that, to then be able to communicate that emotion and that message as a sound and a beat and a rhythm that also communicates that feeling and emotion along with the words, that is it's like magic. Because it is, if you listen to it on that level, if you break it down like that, which is what I do now, I never used to, but when you actually really, really listen, it's like, wow, that's so powerful to be able to make sound so that someone else can feel that feeling or that emotion. Like Hans Zimmer, think about how powerful like soundtrack music is as well, just sort of instrumental, and it's that ability. It's that ability to write a piece of music that makes us feel something, and I just think that's amazing. So I've really gained a next level appreciation for music of all genres, and for Eurovision, it's just pure joy. If you listen, because I've listened because they've been in the semi-finals this week, and I'm telling you now, any one of those 39 is a winner. Every single one are already a winner. But it's, what it is amazing just to watch is you're watching people achieve their dreams. You're part of that moment. Their dream, is to sing for their country. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to witness. It's a beautiful thing to be part of. And, just listening to all the different songs, it's like, it almost feels like Eurovision this year is like the soundtrack to if we created a COVID film where the ending is like, we come through, we're all united and we're all powerful, we're all standing in our truth and our power and our light, and we're all, happy together. That's what it feels like. It feels like that would be, all 39 tracks would be the soundtrack to that movie there with that ending. And it's like, it's proper joy. So I love every single one of those songs. I think they're brilliant. There's just the costumes and everything about it is pure joy. So if you're not doing anything tomorrow, get involved, watch Eurovision. It's going to be epic. So that was all I was going to say about music. So love you all loads. We can do this. We will do this. We are doing this. We're going to be fine. So love you.